Hi everyone. This is Waldorf,
And this is Statler.
and this time we're going to be looking at the Fantasy Battles: The Ninth
I'm
Age.
sorry, this is Sir Statler.
Sir Stuff, and I guess I am Sir Waldorf
Yes.
for this episode because we're going to be looking at the Kingdom of Equitaine.
K-O-E.
K-O-E.
Koi.
Koi? Koi?
Koi.
Aren't those like goldfish?
Could be.
All right. Kingdom of Equitaine. Nice little shield with the Grail on it. So nice. Special rules, virtues, magic items. Standard army book.
Right.
And we'll start
And
with
this is one of the standard short army books that most of the armies have right now. So,
Yep. Why don't you start us off with this thing?
Army special rules, the blessing. Okay. Models with a special rule gain a 6-up ward save basically all the time. But when you're doing your army list, you got to decide which token you're going to use. You either have the token of the king, which is a 5-up against anything that's strength 5 or higher, or you have the token of the Grail, which is anything which is a 5-up against anything that has the armor piercing rule. If you go with any of the tokens, then you do not get any bonuses to your die roll for rolling for the first turn.
So yeah, at best you're hoping for a straight up
Right.
roll off.
So in theory, you can still have a token depending on how big your bonus army is and what's going on. You can actually still have a chance to go first, which is a nice thing they didn't have in earlier versions. The challenge for me with these tokens is that you have to decide when you're doing your army list.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah, one-on-one games, I think that's okay. But for tournaments where you have to set your army list for over 6 games,
Yeah,
that can
5 or 6 games, and yeah, I don't think this should have to be set in the army list. But
Yes.
just anyway,
At least how it is now with how other things work. But yeah.
Cav already have enough of a disadvantage.
Yes.
Anyway. But anyway, that's the blessing. Next we have the Lance Formation. Models with this special rule gain monstrous ranks and fight an extra rank. When charging, and with a unit that has ranks 3 models wide, models with this special rule gain additional instance of fight an extra rank. So basically, if you're the 3 model wide, you get fight an extra rank again.
Correct. So yeah, basically
So that gives you up to 4 ranks fighting.
up to 4 ranks on the
On a
charge,
charge.
and 3 ranks when you're not charging.
Okay.
So it gives you the extra attacks on that smaller frontage because you're only 3 wide. The downside is if you're someone who likes to play big lances, that's great because you're going to be able to fight with 4
Correct.
ranks if you're playing with 12 or 15 knights. If you're someone that wants to do MSU and
Oh,
or
run
MMU,
6 knights or whatever.
6
Yeah.
or 9, this isn't so good.
Yeah, then you're paying for the Lance Formation.
Exactly.
You're getting nothing out of it.
Right.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
What do we got next? Jousting?
Jousting. A model with this rule may use a lance when charging, even when armed with a magic weapon. If the model uses a mundane lance when charging, it may switch its weapon at the start of the next round of combat.
Okay. This is it's just the ability to use your lance.
Correct.
So if you got a +1 strength weapon, you don't have to use it
In
when
the
you
case if you have a
charge.
magic weapon, you don't have to use it in the
Correct.
first round. So yes,
Yeah.
so you have that choice. And it says may. It's not.
It's not
Yeah.
required.
So
Okay.
it's a nice little flavorful thing for Equitaine.
It is, and sometimes a lance with +2 strength is better than your magic weapon.
Correct. Just depending what you're fighting. It basically gives you a round 1 weapon master rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beloved, the model loses front rank when joined to a unit with at least 1 full rank of models with the Lance Formation, and it cannot be chosen by the enemy as a model that refuses a challenge.
Right.
Okay.
And as
So-
we'll see later, this is for the
This
damsels.
is just for your damsel, so she can hide behind the front
Correct.
rank. Yeah. Okay.
I think they
Cool.
could have put it in a lance formation and not have its own special rule, but it's fine.
Okay.
Serfs. If half or more of a unit's models have this special rule and are under the effect of inspiring presence from 1 or more models with Oath of Fealty, which we'll get to the oaths later, the unit gains +1 movement when marching. And basically what this means is any of your foot guys, your peasants, as long as they're within range of a unit of regular knights or rail knights, they get a +1 movement, so it helps them keep up.
Helps them keep up. Ah, it's kind of nice. Nice.
And it's +1 movement, so on a charge
Doubles.
it's +2. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
on a march.
a march I meant. That's
Right.
what I meant to say. Yes. It's
Oh, it
plus
only +1 movement when marching.
Yeah.
So normal moves, you don't get that.
Right.
Okay. Still fine, because the whole objective, it looks like, is to help you try to keep up.
Right, in theory, yeah.
And the Oath of Fealty is models with this special rule gain Inspiring Presence, but only models with Surf may receive it, and it has a range of 6 inches.
Right.
Okay.
And we'll see it's most of the knights have that rule.
Have Oath of Fealty.
Right.
All right. Brings us to the oaths. Do we want to look at oaths now, or you want to come
Yes,
back
yeah,
to
I think
oaths?
those are important. So
Okay.
I'll start with the questing oaths. There's 2 different versions, one for characters,
Questing
the other one
oaths?
for model. Oats, yeah.
You say oats?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're really good with bananas.
Your oat breakfast.
Well, it's horses, they have to have their oats.
I thought you were talking about your oatmeal.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Questing oath.
Yes. Model parts with this special rule ignore the effects of opponent's fear. Additionally, they can use a great weapon and shield at the same time. So
Oh, that's nice.
if you're fighting anything with fear, you don't have to worry about that, and you don't lose your armor save. And
Nice.
it's important. This is something they did, I think, to help the questing knights because people weren't taking them because they were just too fragile.
Yes.
Characters with a special rule must be equipped with a great weapon, so it does somewhat limit your weapons options, and may never use other weapons. When using a great weapon, the character gains the special gets multiple wounds too for large targets.
So he turns into kind of a monster hunter.
He's basically a monster hunter. Yes.
Okay, I like that.
I'll go ahead and take the Grail Damsel.
Sure.
Too. Models with this special rule gain immune to psychology, so they don't panic when things are running around. They get a fixed ward save of 5, so they don't have to worry about the
Which for choice of
right.
the blessing you take.
And then they also get magic attacks, and characters with a special will gain +1 weapon school.
School.
Yeah, look at the skull.
Okay.
Weapon skill. And then it's a one of a kind, so you can only have one character with this.
One Grail of character.
Right.
Okay. All right. That looks good.
So don't use them all up in one place.
Virtues are kind of like magic items. We'll come back and
come back
take
to
a look
them.
at them when we come back to look at the magic items.
Right, and that's the magic items.
So we're going to move ahead on into the army list. The standard lord is the Duke.
Duke.
Oh no. Nice stat line, 85 points, nice stat line, weapon skill 6, initiative 6. Fast guy for a human. 4 attacks, tough 4, strength 4. He's got heavy armor, lance formation, blessing, oath of fealty, jousting. Just like any lord, he can take up to 100 points of magic items. No point limit for virtues, and virtues, of course, do not come out of your magic allotment.
But you can only take one.
But you can only take one. But
And
still, it's very
virtues
nice.
are really what make the Equitaine.
Right.
In this.
Yeah, it's kind of that
Yeah.
thing. Can take the questing or the Grail Oath for 25 each. Shield for 5. May take the following weapons. Morning Star, count as paired weapons. Ooh, okay. Great weapon, halberd, flail, lance. And then he can ride a barded warhorse for 35, Pegasus for 55, and a hippogriff for 100.
Which is now a very nice option.
Is he? Okay. Nice guy. Price decent, right?
Yeah,
Well, by
he's
the time you put him on a horse, he's 120.
Yeah, he's not cheap, but he's got a built-in ward save, and he's a little quick. But otherwise, he's got human stats
Yeah.
straight up. But you're never going to see one of these without virtues
bonuses.
and
Yeah.
ward, yeah.
Okay.
Brings us to the Grail Damsel, which is the high-level mage for the army. At 160 points, has Beloved, Lance Formation, the Blessing, Insignificant. Stat lines your usual mage, all 3s, and
Yeah, but a lord not toughness 4 is kind of tough. It's kind of weak, but
welcome to the world of humans and elves.
okay.
No, especially on mages at least.
Yes.
So, she's a level 3 wizard master. She generates spells from Path of Wilderness, Nature, Heavens, or White Magic. So it's not just for elves anymore.
No, it's not. I
Yeah.
kind of like that ability
Yeah,
there.
I like that lore a great deal. For a short period of time, they had light, but that was taken away and replaced with the white magic.
Oh, okay.
I think white magic Heavens works pretty well, but it's so hard to cast that you're going to blow up your
Your entire lances.
your lances is only a challenge, and Wilderness is still a good lore for. It's a good lore anyway, but it's good for the particular army, especially when you get stuck. You can take magic items up to 100, like any wizard master. You can get up to level 4 up to 30 points. Now, it's something unique to Equitaine. You can pay for magic resistance. Magic resistance 1 for 15, magic resistance 2 for 35 as an upgrade.
Okay, without buying a magic item. That's nice.
Of course, the magic item option is a little cheaper, but it doesn't use a slot. It uses a slot. Not that mages tend to have a problem with magic points. May take a mount, Barded Warhorse for 25, a Pegasus for 40, and a Unicorn for 60.
Kind of as a general thing, I think this. I think the high-level mages overall a great option would be to allow them a second arcane item.
Oh, absolutely.
Leave the other guys in one, but let the second, because there's so many good arcane items, and you really only see one or two used over and over and over again, because they're just so much better than the other ones.
Yeah, I'd actually rather they just, maybe even drop it a little bit and just don't even put a limit. Just you can take as many magic arcane items, because a lot of them are 25 or around that point anyway. So yeah.
But anyway, sorry.
But no, I'm the same.
Just not based on this army list at all. Just
as a general, absolutely. Because there's some nice ones, but you end up always seeing the same.
Yeah.
1, 2, or 3.
There's always the Dispel Scroll, and there's almost always the second one I see more than anything is the +1 to cast, +1 to spell.
Exactly.
So, but anyway, nice, but a decent, normal Lord level caster.
Normal mage. The other thing is, I think the high level mages are just so expensive compared to the level 2s.
Right. They need some other bonus.
That or this need to be a little cheaper. So,
yeah. Heroes, Paladin, 50-point hero for a single model, heavy armor, lance, blessing, oath of fealty, and jousting. Standard bearer for 25, magic items up to 50. Can take a single virtue as well. No point limit. That's kind of nice.
Yeah. The virtues aren't that expensive. But.
Virtue shield for 2 points. You can take either one of the questing or Grail Oath for 15. And your weapon choice, paired weapons, great weapon, halberd, flance. It's 10 points because you got to combine these two.
Yes.
It's a flail, and a flail or a lance. And he can ride a Barded Warhorse.
I think that's what you call a lance when you hold it backwards.
Flance.
The flance, yeah.
And a Barded Warhorse or Pegasus is his options.
Right.
50 points. Put him on a Barded Warhorse for 25. Get him a shield, and now you've got a 77-point 2-up armor save, 5-up ward versus high strength guy. Right?
Yeah. And of course, you can tool them up very easily. And even on the Pegasus, add extra wound and the Royal Pegasus. Then you have some interesting options.
That brings us to
the Damsel. This is the lower level, the hero level mage. Beloved, lance formation, the blessing, insignificant. Anything that's not a knight in this army basically is insignificant. So
okay,
you don't have to worry about running away. But these things are hiding all the time inside. Not all the time, but quite often in the lances. Level 1 apprentice, generates spells from wilderness, nature, heavens, and white. It's nice.
Oh, same as the.
You get all the same
guy.
spells. You don't.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to go to high guy to get the higher level spells.
That's nice.
Yeah, I think that's why you see a pair of these quite often. May take magic items up to 50 as normal, and may become an apprentice at 25. Can still take magic resistance 1.
Okay.
Still at 15,
That's
and
fine.
ride a boarded horse. The Trojan horse, it's called a boarded horse. Yeah.
But there's no. It's kind of the one thing that's different from the Cav army I've seen before, and it did in the other game system, was the Barded Warhorse there is no warhorse without barding.
Correct.
There is no option for not
so,
barding.
So those of us have all of our mages mounted on
unbarded horses.
Unbarded horses.
Yes, have to imagine there's barding.
Exactly. It's got magic barding.
All right. Who's this guy? Castellan? 40 points.
He's the surf hero.
Surf hero. And then, of course, Light armor, he's insignificant and surf. Weapon skill 4, strength 4, tough 4, weapon wounds 2, initiative 3, 2 attacks, leadership 7. This guy looks like a goblin.
He's not as good as a goblin because he only has 2 attacks versus 3 attacks.
Oh,
yes.
He's a little less than a goblin. That's probably why he costs a few more points.
Yeah.
Anyway, he can only join units comprised entirely of models with insignificant.
Correct.
Castellan
So he's,
gains
he's also more limited than a goblin.
Okay, and if he joins the Yeoman Outriders, he gains Fast Cav.
Correct.
If he joins the Crusaders, he gets Hatred and Frenzy.
And this is why he costs more. It's because of the special
Because of
rules.
the special rules.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And if he joins Brigands, he gets Scout and Quick to Fire. He's a Master at Arms. He gives the unit Weapon Master. He's included in the army. 1 unit of Peasant Bowmen may be upgraded to Brigands.
Right.
Okay.
We'll see it later.
It
It's a nice thing because the Brigands have a better ballistic skill. So that with the Quick to Fire.
Yeah, that's kind of neat.
Can be pretty nice.
Only 25 points worth of magic items.
Yeah.
2-point shield. You can take throwing weapons, longbow, crossbow, and then you could go with combat weapons for a halberd, spear, and a lance.
Right.
Light lance.
And you can have both combat and shooting weapons
Correct.
on the model if you want to.
And Barded Warhorse for 15.
Yep.
That's not bad. So
Yeah, it's
tooled
interesting.
down, he's 55
Yeah.
minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Give him a shield, he's 57.
Yeah.
Okay. And he can be upgraded to a rousing orator or a rabble rouser.
Yes.
If he's a rousing orator, gives him his unit gains a devastating charge.
Right.
That's nice. And plus, if he goes the rabble rousers, he's +2 leadership and can be the battle standard bearer for 25 points. This upgrade can only be taken if all models in the army.
Yes, if you're basically doing a peasant army.
Whoa! This upgrade can only be taken if all models in the army are insignificant.
Yes.
Okay.
As we'll see that you can do a lot. The peasants aren't the peasants of yesteryear.
Okay, but all right, we'll see.
It's not an optimal build, but
I'm just saying
it just gives you another way to play.
the Kingdom of Equitaine is supposed to be the knight army.
Well, it's interesting to go to the boards as people have different opinions. I mean, I'm with you. I'm all about the knights.
Otherwise, they're empire.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, all right. Sorry, I digress.
Indeed.
Character mounts. What do we got? A Barded Warhorse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, standard guy. Movement 9 though,
It's faster,
so he drops to 8 with the barding.
and he has thunderous charge.
Horse gains thunderous charge, which is +1 strength on charge.
Correct.
The Pegasus. Movement 7, flies 8, mounts protection 6. You can bard him for 15.
Right. Which slows him down a little bit, but
You can upgrade him to a Royal Pegasus for 10
and he gets an extra attack.
and change his base size.
Right.
So now he can fit into a unit,
He can fit into
a cav unit,
a cab unit,
if you do this.
but he, as a regular Pegasus, he can go with a Pegasus Knight unit and fit in without.
Right.
with
But
no
if you
problem.
go this model, you pay the 10 points, you gain attack, and you can go in either unit,
Yes.
right?
It's just you have to be on the end on the Pegasus. Those are different size base.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. The Unicorn.
But they're not. I mean, you can do a lot with a flying army now.
Unicorn, movement 10, toughness 4, strength 4, 2 attacks, mounts protection 6, strider for forest. It's got magical attacks with its 2 attacks and
Right.
magic resistance
And
2.
what's
Wow,
and
that's
thunderous
nice.
charge.
Strength 5 on the charge.
Yeah, they've kind of. If you see the unicorn across all the different armies, they all have the same stat.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
They've kind of standardized it.
Yeah, which is good.
And here's your guy, the Hippogriff. You're
Hippogriff.
saying that's a good model now, huh?
We'll have to get to the magic items, and then I'll say why it's a good model.
So movement 7, strength 5, tough 5, 4 wounds, 4 attacks, mounts protection 6, fear, large target, fly 8.
So he's not a monster, but he has large target.
Ooh, okay.
But he causes fear, and he's one of the few ridden beasts with mounts protection. Actually, maybe the only one. I'm not
Okay.
sure. Close to the
All right.
only one.
I can see that. And 5 points for armor piercing 1,
And devastating charge.
and 5 points for oh wow, that's almost an
You're going to take
10-point upgrade, isn't it?
at least a 5 point. you're always gonna take the devastating charge.
+1 attack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You may or may not take the armor piercing, but but usually, yeah, if you got 10 points, you're gonna spend it on that. If you're gonna take this guy.
Okay. Nice mount selection. And
Brings
core.
us to the Knights Aspirant, and these are kind of the junior knights in the army.
Okay.
So yeah,
Oops, sorry.
5 models at 95 points, and you can add up to 10, so you can have up to 15 models, and then there's 17 for the additional models. So they did something with Kingdom of Equitaine, which is a little different. The initial models are cheaper than the add-on because the lance doesn't help them. You know?
The additional models are cheaper.
Right.
Okay.
So and you'll see that on
Yeah, because these are
most of them.
19 points
Right.
pop for first guys. Okay.
So for the other knights, these guys, because they don't get as much from the lance.
They do it the opposite way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Then we have a knight, standard human stats, 3 leadership,
Yeah.
and there's the warhorse that we saw earlier. And they only have one warhorse. They don't have multiple kinds of horses in the army. Comes with lance, has mount protection 6, barding, light armor, shield. Light armor it comes with. So basically, it's a 3-up armor save.
Okay.
Out of the box. Okay. Lance formation and the blessing. You don't have oath of fealty with these guys, so you can't use them to
help your peasants.
serfs. Yeah. Thunder's charge for warhorses, which is their horse special. Then they have special rule impetuous. When declaring a charge, a model with special grams frenzy, just the knight, not the horse, until the end of the turn. Unit which consists entirely of models with this rule may reroll failed charge range rolls.
That's really nice.
It's a very nice rule for an army, or especially a unit that really needs its
charge
to get any strength.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah. You can upgrade them with heavy armor at a very hefty price of 4 points per model. A normal musician.
But that'll bring them down to a 2-up, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, it makes them
It's close to a given.
about the same price as the next unit we'll see.
Oh, okay.
If there are no Knights of the Realm in the army, you can update to Crusaders. So if you want to go with all these guys, you can be Crusaders. And then the model gets Thunderous Charge. So basically it'd be Strength 6 on the charge.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the rider gets it
Correct.
in addition.
The horse already has it.
The horse already has it, so basically the rider's
Right,
gaining
right.
it. But there has to be no Knights of the Realm in the
No
army.
Knights of the Realm.
Okay. Which brings us to the Knights of the Realm, which are a little more pricey. 5 for 110 as opposed to 95.
Right.
And their additional, whoa,
Yes.
now I see what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Their additional ones are much more. So 5 for 110. Human stats, kind of, but they get a bump in weapon skill, bump in strength.
Yes.
And leadership. Okay, so for the point difference, you're getting those 3 stats. Strength,
And a
weapon
Strength
skill.
4 human and core is nothing to sneeze at.
No, and especially because he's got a lance, so
Right.
he's going to have strength 6
Correct.
on the charge. Mounts protection 6, barding, heavy armor, shield, so he's a 2-up for that price. For that price, you're getting 2-up armor save guys.
Right.
They get the lance formation, the blessing, the oath of fealty, and jousting.
Correct.
Jousting, yeah, the weapon master thing with the lance.
Right.
Horse got thunderous charge. You can replace your shield with
A
Morning Star, which is paired weapons,
Right.
or a flail. +2 strength all the time, but you're not only losing your shield, you're giving your opponent +1 to hit you.
Yeah, I think they
That's
try to do
kinda-
this to make give some other weapons options, which is nice in concept. Just you're paying a huge premium to
To make
go
yourself
down on your armor save.
Yeah, and your armor's what's keeping you alive with your
Is the
toughness
only thing
3.
that's barely keeping you alive. Yeah,
Yeah.
and for either some additional strength 4 attacks or high strength,
Right.
but then you're getting hit a lot more and you have less armor. So I'm not sure these are really viable choices because you lose your shield, so you're also more vulnerable to magic.
Right.
And
I can somewhat see the Morning Star option because it brings your initiative up if you plan on hitting light stuff.
Yeah.
Chewing through it quickly, but I tend to agree with you. Standard command options, and you can take a veteran
the
standard.
veteran standard bearer.
Okay.
And we have our first peasants, our first serfs. A peasant levy, 60 points for 20 models. So pretty
Nice.
cheap to go with, and then 4 points there. You can have up to 60 of them. So this is one of the larger units in the
Wow,
game.
that is big.
Yeah.
That's a goblin size unit.
And it's got similar to goblin stats. Weapon skill 2, ballistic skill 2, except ballistic is not good. Strength, toughness 3, and 3 initiative,
Wow,
and
your
5 leadership.
Leadership's down from them as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm sure they have other things.
So light armor shield, insignificant. So knights don't care about them in the serfs rule that we talked about. Now the important thing is the leadership is probably not so bad on these guys, just because as long as you have knights running around,
They can borrow theirs.
you're borrowing theirs. So may take a weapon choice. So you come with hand weapon. You can give them spears for free, which it's actually maybe a little bit of a choice because his weapon skill is just so low. The parry is actually helpful on these guys to keep them alive.
That's a good point.
Because they're not going to kill much. Halberd for 1 point. I'm not sure why anyone would ever do that. Just because everyone has those models. But and then
Yes.
your normal command.
Okay.
And surprisingly, they don't have any veteran standard beer.
Surprisingly. The peasant bowman for 60 points. 10 models. 6 points apiece. May add up to 20 for 5 points a model. You gain a longbow. That's nice.
Yes.
Insignificant serfs. They get bowman stakes. When deploying a bowman unit, you may place a wall terrain feature in base contact with the front of the bowman unit. This wall is as wide as the unit to a maximum of 12 and up to 20 millimeters deep. Follows all the normal rules for walls, except with the exception of being soft cover instead of hard.
Right. It's
Okay.
kind of like stakes or
Yeah.
other things.
No, that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
It's a nice option, and it's free. Built into the cost, I should say.
Yes.
Um,
Nothing is free in the Ninth Age.
Correct. You can take braziers for 10 points. This, I'm assuming, gives you flaming attacks.
Yes.
10 points for the entire unit. Light armor at 1 point a model.
Which you'll never take. But
Yeah. You can get rid of your stakes and become skirmish if you're 20 models or less for a point a model.
Right. And that's a nice option.
That's a nice
to take.
option.
Oh, it depends what you're using them for, I suppose.
Standard command, champion, musician, standard bearer for 10 each. All right. If the army has a castellan, one unit may be upgraded to brigands. Maximum of 10 at 4 points a
Right.
model.
So that kicks them up to
And the
9 points a
brigands
model.
gain 1 ballistic skill, scout, skirmish, and quick to fire.
Right.
Oh, look at that. Cannot use braziers and lose the stakes. This cannot be combined with crossbows. That's actually kind of a nice option. But
Yeah,
it's-
no, I like this this option a lot.
But it gives you a scouting,
Correct.
skirmishing unit.
I like scouts.
I like scouts.
We can do skirmish anyway, but I like scouts. And the
Yeah.
plus 1 ballistic skill, now you're at 4.
Oh, yep.
You know, and quick to fire, you don't.
And your longbows.
You don't have to worry about moving. So not that bows are ever going to do a whole bunch of damage, but it does make them a bit of a, for
Right.
relatively small cost, a bit of a threat to chaff units.
Yeah, and with, like I said, longbows are nice. 30-inch range.
Yeah.
You're rarely not going to be shooting.
Correct. You're almost.
That's kind of
yeah.
nice.
Still strength 3, but yeah.
And if the army has crusaders, you can replace the longbow with crossbows. Cannot take braziers for 2 points a model. So then you with crossbows. Okay, and there's the brazier.
Well, this is kind of a little convoluted here. So basically, this means you can't have Knights of the Realm. So if you have that particular build, then only then can you take the crossbow option.
So you have to have upgraded one of your knights aspirant to crusaders.
Correct.
At least one. And then you have to, and to do that, you of course had to have no Knights of the Realm.
Correct.
Okay. So you're giving up Knights of the Realm to do the crossbows.
Right.
And the crusaders. Okay.
I'm not sure. I mean, to me, they added the crossbow, which is kind of a need because if you look at like French armies of the 100 Years' War, that's
Crossbows
primary.
around,
It's
yes.
primary weapon. But it's probably a little fiddly, more fiddly than it needs to be. The army doesn't have a lot of choices anyway. So
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But I can see what they're doing. They're trying to build
Yeah.
in certain options
Yeah,
and certain
yeah.
builds a certain way. And it's also specifying that the braziers, you do not have to use them. They may choose to use them for
Right.
flaming attacks.
Correct.
So something that's got a good ward save versus flames, you don't have to use
Right.
it. All right.
Brings us to Knights of the Quest.
These are your guys.
The 5 models at 110 points, additional models at 26. So they're basically 15 models. They're the same price as Knights of the Realm.
Okay.
Okay, but you are gaining an initiative, which is, you're going to see, doesn't really matter, but you're gaining an initiative. You still have the weapon skill 4 and the strength 4 and the leadership 8.
Okay.
You get a great weapon, so that's why the initiative doesn't matter too much. I guess that
Uh-huh.
kind of initiative test. Mounts protection 6,
Huh.
barding, heavy
That's
armor,
actually kind of weird.
shield. Well, this was a unit through the different versions. They're trying very different things. I don't think they've quite hit the
Right.
sweet spot yet.
I'm just weird that they give you the point of initiative and your only weapon choice is a.
Yeah, well, for a long time they had weapons master as an option. So until this last version came out,
Okay.
they have the blessing, lance formation, so straight up. They do not have oath of fealty.
Okay.
They have thunderstructure horse, and they have the questing oath, which is, as a reminder, is that they can use their shield and their great weapon at the same time. So
So
they're always
so they're 2-up armor
So they're
save
always a
even with the
2-up
great
armor,
weapon.
right,
Okay,
right.
that's nice.
standard command. They can take a magical standard up to 50, and if you stop at 9 models, you can make them hedge knights, and hedge knights basically have scout, vanguard, and strider. Now, conceptually, that could be kind of neat because you could take a medium-sized wedge and adjust it after deployment where
Correct.
you need to be, but you're paying a really high premium for that.
Really? 25 points for a small unit?
Yeah.
I mean, 45 if you do the
45.
max. I'm just saying if you do it with a
Well, I'm saying if
single
you're
unit
doing
of 5.
doing it as a real combat threat, then
Oh,
you're going to go
yeah,
to
yeah.
9. So it's
Okay.
going to be 45, and this is an army that has a problem finding points, generally speaking. So,
Okay.
but it is something that you could mess with somebody with, and then just having or you can just take them as small units and do the scout thing. And they have forest rider, which is nice because you can surprise somebody running through a forest.
Yes.
I kind of like them just because now I still think Kingdom of Equitaine's biggest problem is they still have a lack. They're not protected well enough for their points,
Right.
and they have to rely on them. But these guys have a reasonable level of protection. They're going to hit hard as long as you're not losing too many of them in the subsequent rounds of combat.
Okay. Why are we going dark?
They're going dark. I don't know.
Is your TV? Okay. We'll take a pause for just a second.
I'll just do that.
All right. Coming up next, we have the Pegasus Knights.
A break for technical difficulties.
Pegasus Knights, 3 models for 145. Can add up to 3 more at 42 apiece. Weapon skill 4, strength 4 guys ride them. Just kind of human stats with weapon skill and strength. On the Pegasus, which gives you 2 attacks, weapon skill 3, strength 4. Okay.
2 wounds. That's important.
Only 2 wounds, not
Yes.
3. Not a monster. Even though they are monster scav,
Right.
2 wound monster
Like
scav.
they're like a light monster scav,
Yeah.
sort of.
Okay. They have lance, mounts protection 6, monsters cav with mounts protection, right? But that's not that uncommon.
Right.
Heavy armor and shield. So we're talking about 3-up armor.
3-up armor shave.
Blessing, oath of fealty, fly 9.
Yes.
That's a nice movement.
Mm-hmm.
Can take may take any of the following.
Correct.
Vanguard for 6 points a model. Devastating charge, knights only for 2 points a model. Wow,
Absolutely.
that's kind of a given. Skirmish, max 4 models for 5 points.
To me, that's a given.
As long as you're running units of 4, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Barding for 10 points a model. It's pricey, but I think you want the 2-up save, right?
I think it depends how you're playing them, but yeah.
And standard command upgrades, and look at this, magic standard up to 50 does not take your veteran standard banner.
Correct.
I like this. Okay.
This is actually, I think, to me, the best designed unit in this army. I like how they've given you a reasonable stat line to start with,
Mm-hmm.
and then they've given you really that Swiss Army knife of abilities that you
Yeah.
can turn these guys into what is it you want to be. Do you want to be light chaff hunters, war machine hunters? Do you want them to be harder hitting units? So it's
Yeah, it's kind of a toolbox unit.
it is a
isn't
toolbox. It's a form of toolbox use, and they only have 2 wounds, but you can really armor them up so they're more survivable.
So they've got a 2-up armor save and a 5-up.
Exactly.
If you take that ward, the blessing, then
Right.
5-up against strength 5.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan. I can see.
Well, these are very nice, and like you said, there's a lot of ways to build these.
Right.
I see devastating charge almost being a given.
Yeah, I pretty much would take that all the time.
Um,
I would actually take skirmish all the time too because it's about keeping them alive.
Skirmish gives them that keeps them alive from
Because
shooting.
you're already not getting any rank bonuses because you're a flyer. So
Oh, because you're light troops
Yeah.
automatically.
so
Yep.
and how big do you want this unit to be?
Yeah, unless you're going to do a large unit of 6, then,
Yeah.
unless you're going to max them out. Skirmish, I think, is a...
But you're not getting the extra
A
attacks.
given.
I mean, I'm just not sure you're paying too much for guys attacking from their second rank.
All right.
Yeoman
Yeoman.
Outriders, 55 points. This is the chaff unit, chaff unit for the army. 5 models. You can get up to 10 more for 8 points per model. It's basically human stat line with a 1 point drop in leadership 6.
Okay.
Standard horse. It comes with a bow, a regular bow, a light lance. So strength 4 on a charge, bounce protection 6. They have insignificant. They're serfs, but they're fast cavalry. They can have upgrades for a shield at only 1 point, light armor for 2 points. I never understood why these things have different points for different units. Because it does basically the same thing unless you have great weapons or two-handed weapons.
Yeah, they don't have any options, so shield
Yeah.
and light armor do the exact same thing.
I,
and cost
I
different.
see that in a lot of lists. It's just I'm sure there's a reason for it. It just
Okay.
seems odd to me. And then you can replace your bow with throwing weapons for free. I'd probably be tempted to do that. You get the normal command options.
Okay, so like you said, nice chaff unit.
Yeah.
Knights Forlorn, 85 points for 10, up to 30 more at 12 points a model.
Yeah.
That's a big unit.
So this is for those people who
Foot Knight Army.
yes,
Or-
who always wanted foot knights in Kingdom of Equitaine or older versions.
Yes.
The unit now exists.
They come with great weapons, heavy armor and a shield. They get the blessing, that's kind of nice, and the questing oath.
Right. They're basically foot questing knights.
So they use their heavy armor and shield, because the questing oath lets them use heavy armor and shield and great weapon at the same time.
Correct.
That's nice.
So they're 4 up.
So they're 4 up in combat.
Correct.
That's really good. Skirmish, 50 if you got 15. If you have a max of 15 models, you can skirmish them for free.
Right.
It's kind of neat to do with a unit. Standard command options, magical standard up to 50. May become hedge knights, max 20 for 2 points a model. Models with this upgrade have scout, vanguard, and strider. Okay, I can see that too. Because you gain scout, vanguard, and strider, which means you don't lose your steadfast in the woods.
Right.
But you're going to only have 20, so it's not like you're going to be real steadfast anyway. But
Yeah.
it's still there.
And there's
But-
strength 4, which is the other thing.
But the scout and vanguard itself is worth the 2 points a model, I think.
Yeah, it's as an upgrade, it's worth it. I'm just not sure the unit is.
Okay, so it's the foot knight unit.
Right.
Okay.
Or a form of them. I would have really liked them to basically just had a foot knight version for each of the knights. I think that would be kind of
Oh,
neat.
really?
Yeah.
Knights on
If
foot.
you
just
want
match
to play a
them.
foot knight army, then you play a foot knight army, so you have your
So
foot
you're
knight.
basically dismounting.
Yeah. I think that'd been kind of been different. It kind of, for a human army.
Yep. And that brings us to this guy, which is
The Peasant Crusaders. These are the fanatics for the Kingdom of Equitaine. So 10 points. I'm sorry, 10 models for 60 points, 6 points per each, and you can add up to an additional 30. So you can have a block of 40. So not quite as big as the
okay.
other peasants, but weapon skill is 3. So they
Ooh, bumping weapon
they
skill.
fight a little better, and ballistic skill doesn't really matter. And then they have leadership 7, so they're not quite as reliant on somebody to be around to help them out.
Okay.
Light armor and shield, they're insignificant, they're serfs, they have hatred, so they get re-rolling, and they're stubborn, and they have frenzy.
Wow,
Yeah,
this is a nice unit.
it's it's not a bad unit at all. And you'll see soon we're going to make this unit a lot better. And they can exchange their shield for paired weapons for
Okay.
free, so you can get a whole bunch of strength 3 attacks if you want.
Yeah.
And then you can add the usual command.
Yeah.
No standard.
No
No magic
No
standard.
magic standard.
Yeah,
Shield for paired weapons. Your weapon skill is only 3, so I think you're
Correct.
going to want the shield.
It depends how you want to use them and how you want to. We're going to come to the buff wagon in a minute. So yeah.
So rare. On the rare, we have the Knights of the Grail.
The big boys of the army.
90 points for 3. 30 points a model. And can add up to 5 more at 38 points a model.
Yeah. Why it's 8 and not 9, I don't know. Since the lance is...
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Weapon skill 5. That's good for human. Strength 4, tough 4. Tough 4. Nice.
It's not good for humans. It's great for humans.
It's great for human.
Yeah.
Initiative 5. 2 attacks each. Leadership 8. That's a really nice stat line for humans.
And these guys are supposed to be living saints. They're supposed to be something more than just humans.
Just humans.
Yeah.
Cut above.
I cut a couple cuts above.
Mounts protection, barding, heavy armor, shields.
So 2 up.
2 up. You got jousting, so you can switch out from your lance formation, oath of fealty, thunderous charge for the warhorse, monstrous support.
So they get to fight in their 2 attacks through their additional ranks.
Correct. Wow, that's nice.
And since they have the lance formation, they're basically all of them always going to be fighting.
Yeah, that's nice. The Grail Oath, Knights only. Only characters with Beloved or Grail Oath may join a unit with the special rules. That stops you from piling them up with characters. So
basically, you can only put mages in there or 1 character.
Okay.
This was kind of an over nerf, I think, but...
Yeah. You can add divine attacks for 3 points a model. It's actually not a terrible option. It's a nice...
I kind of like that they made it an option, and it's not to keep the cost down a little bit. Yeah. I actually like more of that, in the game, as long as they're not overcosted options.
Standard cost for the command.
Yep.
But your champion can take a magical weapon up to 25. That's really nice.
Yeah, there's a couple of neat things you can do.
And you can take a 50-point standard. So with these 2 combined...
And you will take a 50.
That's standard. Really kind of nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a fantastic unit.
Oh, it is a fantastic unit.
Yeah. That's really a hammer.
It's the one unit that can hit hard and it can actually, fight reasonably well, even in a prolonged fight.
Yeah, I mean, weapon skill 5, initiative 5.
Yeah, it's just because it's protected well, it's going to be going fast.
2 up armor, toughness 4.
Strength 4.
Yeah, no, that's a nice, nice unit. Really nice unit. Okay. I like it. Uh-oh, what's this?
The Green Knight.
Somebody I know likes this guy.
I love this guy. Always did like this guy, whether he was good or not. Yeah. Anybody could grow his head back on after getting chopped off. And, Arthurian legend, it's just kind of a cool thing. So it's a single model, 210 points. It's one of a kind, so you can only have 1 in the army. He has weapon skill 6. It's basically a Lord level character. It's ethereal. Weapon skill 6, strength 4, toughness 4, 3 wounds, initiative 6, 4 attacks, leadership 9. He's on a spectral stallion, which is just like a regular horse except initiative 4. He's got a great weapon or paired weapon, so he's got 2. You can either have 5 strength 4 attacks or 4 strength 6 attacks.
Okay.
He's got mounts protection, barding, heavy armor, and shield. So he's got otherworldly, terror, ambush, ethereal, unstable. Unstable's the challenge with him.
Yeah.
And weapons master. So basically, he's pretty well protected with 2 up armor. He's always going to have the 5 up from otherworldly. Mm-hmm. Or the 2 up for ethereal, depending on what's targeting him, of course.
Better, yeah.
Yeah, and it causes terror. Not too many things in the game cause terror, and especially that aren't huge in mass, which is very nice. He does only have 3 wounds, and so you do have to be a little careful how you use him.
And he's unstable.
So. Yeah,
you can't afford to go into a unit and whiff.
No, and even attacking the rear against a lot of ranks, you may have a problem. Yeah. So. You have to be careful of that. And there's a number of magic spells that can zip through armor. So
there are.
So he's a lot of points for that.
Okay. Yeah, I can see the use of this guy.
But he's still cool.
Ambush. I'm never a big fan of ambush.
I like ambush, but
all right, nice guy.
It'd have been neat if he had that other rule that beast herds have, which you pop up in a terrain feature.
Oh, yes.
Sleeper.
Correct.
Yeah.
Siege War Machine, single model. Apprentice 4, so it's got 4 wounds. That's nice.
Yes.
So their artillery has 4 wounds. So you have the choices of a Scorpion, which is a bolt thrower, range 48, strength 6.
With ordnance, though.
Multiple wounds ordnance. Armor piercing 6. 65 points. Ballistic skills 3, so you're hitting. That's actually, with the multiple wounds ordnance, that gives it +1 over a normal bolt thrower, +2
Yes.
if it's a
Flyer.
That's actually kind of nice.
Ballistic skills 3, not so nice.
No, but, well, sorry. Bolt throwers I'm used to playing are ballistic skill 3 as well. Your other option is the Trebuchet.
But you're not paying 65 points.
Trebuchet, which is 130 points, twice
Yes.
the price. It's a 3-inch template. Catapult, range 12 to 60. Strength 4, 10 in the center.
Yes.
That's really nice. Multiple wounds ordnance and armor piercing 1. This thing's fantastic.
No, it's a nice
This is a nice unit
war machine. I mean,
to break up units.
in the army. I mean, in older versions, you always saw 2 of them.
Right.
Now you're probably still going to generally see it, but you probably play without it. But generally, the trebuchet is definitely the better of the 2. And generally, I mean, I'm kind of the opinion that war machines in the 9th Age are, compared to ballistic-based shooting, are too cheap.
Right.
So I think that this is probably priced about right. I just think some other things are a little too cheap, but you're not paying a huge investment, and you can do something, thin out units, which is something this army needs desperately.
Right. I mean, because this thing hit in the middle of a unit, it's going to take a chunk out of it. Strength 4 armor piercing.
Correct.
All right. So the other rare we have is
Sacred Reliquary. 130 points, single model, movement 4, weapon skill 3, both skill doesn't matter, strength 3, toughness 5, 6 wounds, initiative 3, 4 attacks, so 4 strength, 3 attacks. Leadership 8.
It is infantry.
Yes, but it is toughness 5, 6 wounds. So it is
Okay.
it is probably the most resilient thing in the army. Oh yeah, it's got light armor and anti defense. It's also got a 4-up armor save. Yeah.
Okay.
It's insignificant. It's stubborn, so it hangs out.
Okay.
It's got impact hits. Probably not going to use them, and it's a war platform, so you can put it inside of
Put it inside a unit.
your infantry, your insignificant infantry units.
Okay.
It's got Holy Fervor. All models with insignificant and units within 6 inches gain the blessing, so you get the 6-up/5-up ward save for
Including
all your infantry.
itself, because it's
Including
insignificant.
itself, correct. All friendly insignificant infantry and insignificant cavalry models and units within 6 inches gain fight and extra rank, and they get to re-roll 1s.
Wow, to wound.
Yes.
Okay. So it's definitely a buff wagon. It's
It
actually
is-
kind of nice.
It is a buff wagon, but it's only a buff wagon for the peasants.
For the peasants.
Right.
Okay.
And that's, I was kind of intimating it before. So the peasant stats are nothing impressive, but you put this with it, and now they're actually,
Somewhat better.
somewhat, they're better than a lot of, average infantry.
Okay.
So if you're going the infantry way, this is definitely, something to take.
Odd how they made the choice to do a buff wagon for the infantry and not the cav,
Yeah,
when it's supposed to be a cav army.
yeah. Well, I think when reading on the boards, one of the criticisms of the army was that it was boring to play. It only had one way to play.
Right.
So I think what they've been trying to do, and a lot of the people on the boards also wanted, the ability to play with more infantry. So they
Okay.
tried to make infantry an actual contributor to the army.
Okay.
I said, but
I can see that. But
I'm kind of the same. I mean, the reason I have this army is to have knights in shining armor. I mean, I'll play
Yes.
some of my other many armies if I want to play just guys on foot. But it gives the option to the army.
yeah, I can kind of understand that, but I'm still stuck on that.
Yeah.
To me, this has always been a cav army, and they need the cav buff.
Yes. We'll talk about that at the end.
And here's just the
A quick
summary
reference sheet, everything. So that we have to go back up to the virtues.
So that brings us to special.
Yeah. So as we were saying before, the lords and the heroes, their straight stats are slightly better than humans. So really, we're only talking about Empire
Right.
of Sun style. The and their special rules make them gives you the award and all that. So, but it's really the virtues that sets these guys and makes Kingdom of Equitaine a character, if you can say almost a hero hammer kind of army.
Okay.
So. And as you remember that any hero or any lord, any paladin or any duke could take one of these no matter what the points.
Correct.
Okay.
And they're only usable once per army.
Correct.
First one we have is Renown. If you're a lord, it's 55. If you're a hero, it's 45. The bearer gains lethal strike. On a roll of a natural 6 to wound in close combat, that wound gains multiple wounds ordnance.
Yes.
Okay, this is very nice. Kind of go off on the slight rant again, the off-topic rant. There is a proliferation of multi-wound characters, multi-wound weapons, multi-wound characters out there that just automatically give you multi-wounds. I mean,
Yes.
the ogres have one, the dwarves have one that automatically gives you D3 or D whatever wounds. This, I think, is the way they should be done, where you have to roll a 6 to kick in that multiple wounds.
Oh, I agree.
I disagree completely that it's automatic that it does multiple wounds. Anyway, that's kind of my rant. I love this.
Yeah.
This
I don't mind the multi-wound on things I'll call them weaker characters because they need that to help them against the stronger characters.
Correct.
I think it's a problem on the bigger characters, and it just stacks on already massive stats.
Well,
and to give it all the time is just it just makes it I can't get close to that.
Well, like I'm saying, that for instance, that ogre that's got five attacks at tough 5,
Right.
and he's got multi wounds. He doesn't need multi wounds.
Correct.
Anyway, just to rant
yes.
off the side, but
yeah.
this is a fantastic.
This is a wonderful
virtue.
item. I think there was a long time that this was the only virtue that you would see in every army.
Correct.
But as we go through, I think there are competitors now.
Okay.
Yeah, but
I
do
like this a lot.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Now the other thing though is this army is very good at taking out monsters. So this is not really necessary to help you deal with monsters.
Okay.
But it does help you, of course. You can get charged
Right.
up against a nasty character that you can survive its wings. Maybe you
Yes.
can take it out before it takes you out. And
Well, you
one,
are initiative 6.
yes.
You got that going
Well, I'm
for you.
thinking like a vampire.
Yeah.
The Chaos Lord type of really powerful guys, or the ogre guys you're going to go ahead of. But
Right.
he's got a lot of wounds, so you have to be real. You're not going to. You got to roll a few 6s to get through him.
Good point.
Brings us to Might, 50 for a Lord, 35 for, and I like this that they've, in general, where they've done the Lord hero
Correct.
match. When charging and using a lance as a close combat weapon, every unsaved wound caused by the bearer with normal attacks before applying the multiple wounds generates another attack at the same initiative step. Resolve these attacks before removing any casualties. These attacks do not generate further attacks. In addition, the bearer gains devastating charge
Wow.
and thunderous charge when using a lance. So you have to use a lance.
Okay.
So either your regular lance or one of the few
Magic lance.
magic lances, and basically
Only on a
it's kind
charge.
of like a vampire thing. So when you charge, you get a whole nother potential set of
Right.
of attacks.
But you're getting a bonus attack as well already.
You're getting it from exactly, and
and the strength.
you're getting extra strength.
So
So,
you're probably going to, if you're a lord, you're 5 attacks at strength 7,
yes,
which is really nice.
and then you're getting, and depending on how many you hit, and you're going to be hitting with a good number because quite often you're going to be hitting on 3s.
and your weapon skill 6,
Yes. So
unless it's a goblin with a shield.
yes. Yes.
Yes, for some reason he's harder to hit.
Yes, and we're gonna avoid the parry rant on
Yes,
this
okay.
one. I think this is an army that suffers from it more than many.
But yeah, so that's really nice.
So yeah, you get that 5, then you're probably gonna get like 3 more. So it's a lot
Okay.
of attacks.
Yeah, I mean, you could give him the other, that crystal ball thing, give him +1 to hit. I think you're
You
going
do
to
that.
want to do something to bring up his hit chance as well, since it's so important. Anyway, very nice.
And when we get to the magic items, you'll see another combination that makes it even better.
Okay.
But it's a nice. But then this is a nice thing that you'd want in your army.
Okay. Valor. The bearer automatically issues a challenge whenever possible. This cannot be prevented by issuing a challenge with another friendly model. They filled that loophole. And this challenge,
at least in this army.
and this, yeah, exactly. And this challenge must be accepted whenever possible. When fighting a challenge, the bearer may reroll failed to hit and to wound rolls. Okay. So this is one that's been around for a long time, but they combined it with a magic item, it looks like, because now it has to be accepted. This is nice. I like this.
I'm not a huge fan for the price, just because I have to accept it, and I'm paying a decent premium to do that.
Okay. I can kind of understand, but I
a-
like this a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I don't want to accept it against. Audacity.
The audacity.
The audacity. 40-30. When the character's in base contact with an enemy with either strength or toughness 5 or more, excluding weapon bonuses, the character has stubborn and may reroll all fail to hit and to wound rolls. I really like this.
I like this a lot, and I also noticed that he doesn't have to be swinging at that guy.
He does not.
So he could be in base contact with a guy and swing at anybody he wants. At that. Okay.
Yes.
That's really nice. I like that.
I mean, this might be one of my favorite ones on a lore, just because they can survive a bit, and against tougher things, maybe your knights can't handle all their armor saves, but at least you're going to be stubborn. So way to get stubborn in the army.
Yeah.
For a knight. Of course, it has to be strong stuff. You can't do it against
Right.
weaker things. But
tough strength and toughness 5 is not hard to come by.
yes,
It's not hard to run into.
yes.
Next one down we have is piety. The
Is
bearer,
that the same as piety?
piety, probably.
Yeah.
But I don't like pie. So
Oh,
we're
you
going
don't
to
like
go
pie?
piety.
So you'd rather do the
Pea. I'd rather pea than have pie.
You'd rather pee than have pie. Okay.
All right, we'll go with piety then. All right. The bearer and all rank and file models in the bearer's unit have their words save increased by +1 to a maximum of 5. Okay.
Correct.
The bearer may only join cav or infantry units. Increased by +1 to 5. This is nice if you're going to go. If you take this, I guess I can see taking this and then taking the other option on the blessing.
Well, it covers you against, because no matter what option you take on which token you take,
You have the 6 up.
you're going to have a 6 up. You're going to have problems fighting against most armies because they're going to have a combination of both.
Right.
And I mean, one could argue actually armor piercing is probably now more prevalent in the
Yeah.
game than strength 5 is. So
Unless you're playing against orcs,
yes,
where it's all over the place.
yeah. But
Hmm.
but 40 points, it's probably fair, but I don't
It's
know.
only helping one unit.
It's helping the one unit,
Yeah,
and
I'm not sure about that.
I'm not sure it's
Okay.
considering some of the other options that you're going to have.
Yeah.
Brings us to daring. The bearer's unit adds D3 when rolling to charge range, for charge range.
Okay. That's nice. Now, take a guy with this, throw him in that unit that gets to re-roll their charge distance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, because you lose that bonus when you put a character in. So
Oh, do you?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. I will. Looking for everything I can.
yeah.
Humility. A model with this virtue has insignificant. Has its inspiring presence range increased to 12 and has hold your ground regardless of whether it is the BSB. However, only models that are insignificant may benefit from this instance of hold your ground. This virtue can be duplicated within the army. So this makes character knight a general / BSB to peasants.
All the peasants. So this is when you're going with the heavy peasant type of army.
So if you really go with a primarily peasant army, you can put a couple of these guys in there and have 2 or 3 generals,
Right.
right?
Right. But if you're doing that, you're cutting back on your fighting ability on your guys.
Correct. Okay. It's a nice little thing in there for that somebody who's
Yeah, no.
trying to build that peasant army.
Yeah, no, I think it's fine, and it's inexpensive, so I don't have a problem. But like I said, I really like what they've done with these virtues. And it is what makes the characters different, and as you can see from them, most of them are really about making your hero or paladin more fighty.
Yes. Yeah, in different
There's
ways
no
of doing
real
that.
buffs here, with the exception of the stubborn one, which is and only against certain units. It's really about making your guys more fighty.
All right, and that brings us to magical items. And
Okay. The first one is the magical weapons, the Dragon Lance. 45 for the Lord, 35 for the hero, for the Paladin. It's a lance, so magic lance. We were just talking about if there were some magic lances available.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
the wielder gains breath weapon, strength 3, flaming attacks. Always a nice thing to have.
That's nice, except
Against-
the flaming attacks you can't turn off, apparently.
Yes, that's fine, but you have it against. It's always nice to have those 2d6
Yep.
hits against little cheapy guys.
Oh, yeah.
Attacks with this weapon have multiple wounds D3 in the round of combat directly after the wielder has charged into combat. This bonus can only apply to attacks directed against the charged enemies.
Okay.
So you saw the virtue that we had, where we get to reroll our hits,
Yes.
and now we get this.
So you charge into a unit of trolls with this thing,
Yes.
and that's going to leave a mark on them,
So
isn't
it's
it?
something to help you with against those regen. Just a number of anything that's multi-wound. This gives you the ability really to hit it hard.
Yeah. Okay. It's nice.
Because most multi-wound things don't have a lot of initiative, except for characters, of course.
That brings us to the Mace of
But the other thing is,
Tristan.
it's multi-wounds against everything. So
Correct. That's actually really nice.
yeah,
The Mace of Tristan, which is 45 points, 40 for a hero, 50 for a lord, 40 for a hero. Hand weapon. Attacks made with this weapon count as having strength 1 higher than the toughness of the model they are attacking. If the strength would be higher without this rule, you ignore the rule. So basically, you're wounding on a 3-up max. Sometimes on a 2, but
right. It's
Never
gonna be
more
worse
than a 3.
It's never going to be worse than 3, right?
whenever an enemy model suffers 1 or more hits from this weapon, roll a d6 at the end of the initiative step for every hit. If 1 or more 4-up results are rolled, all magic weapons carried by the attacked model are destroyed. I've always kind of liked this on paper. I do like wounding on a 3-up is nice. That kind of turns the guy into somewhat of a monster
Yes.
hunter. Especially if you give him that questing. Was it the questing virtue that lets you? But the questing,
you can't
you
use
have
a
to have
hand
a
weapon
lance,
with that.
don't you?
You have to have a great
A
weapon.
great weapon. Okay. So you can't do that. You're always wounding on 3-up is a nice thing,
Right. But you're going to be strength 4, so you're not going to get through a lot of armor.
but you're not going to get through a lot of armor. Yeah, that's a good point. And then killing the thing, yeah.
But the nice thing about the killing is it's hits, it's not wounds.
It's not wounds. Yeah. I don't see this item. I'm not going to use it.
No, I mean, it's kind of there if you're willing to sacrifice your guy to get rid of that magic weapon. You don't want somebody else to fight.
Yeah, but the problem is it's a hit. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess this is the guy you can throw against the guy I was just bitching about, with the ogre with that great weapon, and get a couple of hits on him and hopefully break his weapon.
Right.
Anyway,
I mean, that's what you got to do with it. I'd prefer it wasn't a hand weapon. I'd feel better if it was something else.
correct.
They gave some kind of bonus. First magical armor, Armor of Percival. I like how they've got all these Arthurian references, the different names on everything.
Yeah.
Heavy armor, because that's kind of that's the feel I always like for the armies, that
The
Arthurian
Arthurian,
Age and
yes.
Knights and Shining Armor.
No, I agree.
So it's heavy armor where the wearer's ward saves. Wearer's ward saves.
Whoa.
Wearer's ward save is increased by +1 to a maximum of 4. Any divine attacks made against the wielder lose divine attacks. So this
Okay.
is a nice item.
It's a nice
You're
item.
getting heavy armor, and you're basically kicking up your ward save to a 5 or to a 4.
Kicking up
depending
your
on
ward
the situation.
save, and heavy armor you already have,
Right.
but you're getting that, and you're eliminating divine attacks.
Correct.
Rerolling your ward saves sucks if you have to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's nice. I like that.
This is an armor I think you'll see in a lot of, or I've seen in a lot of lists.
Crusader's Helm, 45 points. It's a helm, so it gives you a 6-up armor save. The wearer may reroll failed armor saves. Attacks made against the wearer with lethal strike lose this special rule.
Yes.
This is a great thing.
This is a wonderful item.
Brings you to a 1-up rerollable armor save.
Yep. And
For 45
and
points.
you don't have to fear lethal strike.
And lethal strike you're not worried about.
Exactly.
Wonderful item.
That's like standard equipment on everybody's general.
I think you see that in almost every list.
Yep.
Or every list. Maybe you won't see it in the all peasant list.
You still can't have a general.
There you go.
Yeah. This guy will be on foot. So.
That's a good point.
Talisman of Roland.
Roland?
Roland. Another knight. No unit may use a stand and shoot reaction when charged by the bearer's unit. Furthermore, the bearer's unit has their ward save increased by +1 against any ranged attacks.
That's
to
nice.
a maximum of 4 up. This cannot be used against magic attack.
Okay.
This is a wonderful item.
20 points to bump your ward save for shooting attacks.
Exactly.
That's including war machines.
Yep.
That's actually really nice.
I'm trying to remember. I think some of the magic spells classified as ranged attacks. It's magic missile classified as a ranged attack.
Yeah, but it doesn't work against magic.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. But no, it's very nice.
No, that's a fantastic for 20 points.
You can put it on that damsel who probably can't use all of her points and not use
Yeah.
a few points on any of your other characters if you don't want.
Good point. Yep.
It's a wonderful item.
That's very great.
Brings us to the Blessed Scripture. 25 for a lord, 15 for a hero. Multiple wounds suffered by the bearer are halved, rounded up.
Okay. Kind of like it, but
What if you put it on
if
a
you put it on a
hippogriff?
guy with a hippogriff, then it becomes
Amazing.
yes. Yeah, I'm seeing that now.
Yes.
That's very nice.
On a regular dude,
Regular
it's
dude,
a waste of
it's
points.
a waste of points.
because everything's pretty much going to kill it anyway.
Yep. Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
But it is
25 points for a lord on a hippogriff to gain
exactly
this.
because then now that guy's survivable. Because that's the problem with
Yes.
always, especially because you're not going to have a lot of
Cannonballs.
them. Whatever, you
Yeah.
know, there's so much ordnance that's out there, so many multiple wound
Yeah.
models that are out there, and he's a large target, so he can attract a lot of them. This kind of sets that back. So
Yeah, that's nice. Really nice. Enchanted items. Storm Clarion. Clarion. One use only. This item may be activated at the start of any player turn. Enemy units cannot make flying movements during this player turn. Yeah. 40 points.
I mean, I know there's people that love this, but
Too much for one turn.
yeah, that's how I feel. I'd rather have something else.
Too much for one turn.
Yeah, I'd rather have some more magic weapons or magic armor in the army.
Even if it was a bound ability that you can cast every turn, then they could dispel it maybe. Then, but
That'd be too good then.
anyway,
But yeah, it's yeah. I'm just not not a fan of it all.
I'm not spending 40 points on that.
Yeah. Wafers of Penitence,
Okay.
15 points, arcane item. Generate D3 +1 wafers before the battle at the end of deployment, so somewhere between 2 and 4. When making the spell attempt, after rolling the spell dice, the bearer may decide to use a single wafer to add +1 modifier to the spell roll. This is an exception. Once used, a wafer cannot be used again. So on paper, it's cheap. You don't have to... If you're off by 1, because it's after the dice roll, it's kind of nice. You can just throw it and use it. The problem is you don't have a slot for it.
You don't have a slot for it. And then the other, I mean, how many times are you really off by 1? And then the other option is,
I don't know. It seems to happen to be a good amount.
if it had the ability to actually count as a power die, so that way it could bump you over that 1-2 always fail minimum thing, it might be worth it. But you're not going to take this over the other arcane
That's the
item
problem.
choices you have.
It's cheap, so because it's cheap and it's of some utility, you would normally want to take
Consider it, yes.
But because we were talking about earlier, with arcane, there's so many good arcane options.
Yeah,
Unless it's fantastic, you're not going to take
correct.
something against the 2 that are in the rule book,
I agree.
which some armies have, but
Yeah.
not this one.
Magical standards. Banner of the Last Charge.
Yes.
For 20 points, all mounts in the bearer's unit gain impact hits 1.
It's a wonderful item.
If you're doing a lance, I don't like this a
No,
lot.
this is on the
This is on the Knights
Aspirant.
Aspirant, which are running 5 or 6 wide,
Correct.
maybe even 7 wide,
Yes.
if you're nuts. On that, it's a fantastic item.
Yes.
Because your horses are strength 4, correct?
Correct.
So you're gaining 5 to 7
Yes.
auto hits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's nice for
No,
20
it's
points.
a nice item.
Yeah, I'm a fan of this one.
And it's good on that particular unit. No, I like it.
Yeah, that's the only unit it's good on.
Yeah, for the points, yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree.
Normally you're paying 20 points to gain 3 strength.
Well, it depends because
Or
with
is.
impact, it's you get +1 strength for every rank, right? So it can be.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Yeah, it depends what you want to do with it.
Okay. So yeah, if you put it on a large unit, then you become a monster killer
Yeah, yeah.
because you're doing
Or
3
chariot killer or
high
whatever.
strength. Okay.
So no, it's so I think you
Okay.
have multiple things you can do with
I
it.
can see that.
Yeah. Brings us to the creme de la creme of banners for Equitaine, the Oriflamme. The bearer gains fear. Love fear.
Fear's nice.
Yes. Enemy units in base contact with the bearer unit may not benefit from hold your ground.
So no BSB.
Basic, so no reroll. So even against a
Wow.
stubborn guy,
So you're auto bringing their leadership down by 1, unless they're immune to fear.
correct?
You're bringing their leadership down by 1, and no reroll.
Yes.
So, like you said, even if you're hitting that steadfast unit, you've got a shot.
Yeah.
That's kind of nice.
It's a nice banner. I like this banner, and I like that you can put it on a unit and it doesn't have to be on a battle standard bearer.
Battle standard
which,
bearer.
in case you probably wouldn't take it, but
No,
it's a nice banner.
this is really nice. I like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that will do it for Magic items.
Magic. I mean, generally, I like almost all the magic items. Like I said, the wafers, I have a competition problem. I
Yeah.
don't like the Storm Clarion. The Mesa Tristan, I still think needs some help,
Yeah.
but all the other ones have,
All the other ones are
very
good.
useful, and they synergize well with the characters plus the virtues.
Yeah, like I said, I'm down on this one only because of what it would have to replace.
Yeah, that's the only problem with all our old
With that
items.
one.
Yeah,
This one I'm not sold on at all.
like I said, I know people like it, but yeah, I'm kind of the
The
same.
mace I'm not sold on.
Yeah.
But those are the only two
Yeah.
I'm
Otherwise,
really not sold on.
they've done I mean, the Army Book Committee on this one, I think, is, they've done this is one of the nicer magic items compositions that you see in the Army books that I've
Yes.
looked at. I think they've done a great.
No,
job.
this is very nice.
Yeah.
They've done a great job with this.
And I don't think anything's, considering the type of army that it is anything is crazy good.
No.
At
I agree
the
completely.
end of the day, there's just humans.
I mean, this virtue here, the renowned virtue, where you
Right.
do multiple wounds ordnance, is really good, but it's only on a natural 6.
Correct.
So I mean, while they gave you something good, they limited it.
Correct.
Again, so I like that a lot.
Right.
You still have to hit, and then you still have to roll this to wound even after you've hit.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm liking a lot of this. This is a very nice build. Now, having said all that,
Yes.
the problem is this is a cavalry based army.
Well, they've made the cavalry better by having a lot of strength 4 guys,
Right.
and but cavalry is at a disadvantage, and for an army that historically was about cavalry,
Right.
it just doesn't have the ability to really fight unless you can to fight against ranked up guys.
Correct.
And with the the amount of armor piercing that's now in the game, the amount of parry that's now in the game,
Yeah, I agree.
it does make it difficult on the army. And I think that stat wise, I think they're pretty good. They've done that
Mhm.
part. There is a general challenge in 19th. I think cavalry just costs too much for what you get.
Correct.
For example, like why do lances cost more than great weapons when lances only give you one turn of
Yeah,
strength?
and I guess the answer is going to be that they don't ding your initiative.
Sure, but
But on the first round of combat, your initiative's not really the thing.
well, I'd say it is, but it's still only the first round. After
Right.
that, you're way down on strength.
Yes, correct.
So whereas the great weapon, yeah, you're going to be going last. But frankly, quite often humans are going to be going after their opponent anyway. Depending on who they're playing. They're playing
good
any kind of
point.
elves or
Yes.
chaos. Dark lords, the guys. Then you're going.
Then
You're going second.
last.
Of course, if you're playing orcs and goblins and some undead, you're going to be going first.
Well, even then, their initiative's only 3, so,
Yeah.
I mean, you give an orc with paired weapons, and now he's going at the same time as you are.
Exactly.
So,
So So I think that's all fine. But I mean, to me, the challenge, at least for this army, is they need to do something to make the knights more survivable.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a number of things I think they could do there. One is just make the horses toughness 4. the
Yes, to bring up the knights
that
to toughness
that
4.
that'd be the easy. That would make them toughness 4. That would allow you to be a little more survivable.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones, I think they need to rework the lance because it kind of
The lance formation or the lance itself?
the lance formation.
Okay.
It makes you want to take these big blocks, which is kind of risky because once you're stuck in with this flank that leads
You've gotta
between New York to Paris,
exactly.
it's kind of hard to protect that.
The entire world lands in your flank.
Yeah, it's hard to. So, be able to have a better option to play MSU, MMU, because if it's a maneuver army, then you need to have more units to be able to do that, to pin and to hit.
Right.
And you need to be more survivable to be able to sit in combat to tie somebody up long enough.
To get your guys to the flank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they have one stubborn ability with the one virtue. It'd be nice if they could. If you do something, you'd have to make them make the knights have a stubborn option. You got to protect them more either by giving them better toughness, better armor, or better ward save. I think the toughness is the easiest.
Toughness is the easiest because you can say the big war horses or toughness
Correct,
4,
and
which
it makes and there's all different sizes of war horses.
right.
I
guess that was an interesting thing you brought up before is different types of horses.
Yeah, that's the other thing I'd like to see. Just as in general, it's just a concept. I think it might be too much for most people. Is that they actually give the Equitaine a 2-wound horse.
Right.
That maybe is a little slower, take an inch off its movement,
Mm-hmm.
toughness 4, 2 wounds, can attack the same or whatever, and it just then you can have smaller units that have a larger number of wounds, and they can at least take a little bit of a hit because now you take a few losses and all of a sudden you start losing attacks quickly.
Correct.
Because the bonus of the lance is a lot of attacks over small frontage, but the bad side is that you
Every wound is killing an attack.
is killing an attack pretty
Yes.
much. So yeah.
Every wound you take is losing your attack.
Yeah, and that would make I think the army even unique because no other army has that. As far as base models.
No, I like what I see. As you know, I own this army as well as you do.
Yeah.
I'm just really tempted to pull this out and start playing with it a little bit.
You should.
Based on the success I've had with my orcs, I don't see why I haven't pulled this out. No, it's really nice. I still think Cav overall has a disadvantage in the game, though.
That is a challenge.
And I don't see running Kingdom of Equitaine as anything but a Cav army.
Right.
I mean, I know they built in the options to bring in the peasants and to beef up the foot aspect of this army with the foot knights and those type of things. But like you've said a couple times during this whole thing, my vision's always been the same as yours in this army. Right. This is the guys with the flowing banners and the the charging the knights in shining armor.
Yeah.
That's what these guys are supposed to be.
I actually just watched a couple days ago. Excalibur was on.
Oh, was it? Okay.
And there's that scene where Arthur drinks from the Grail, and they come out and they're charging through the fields, and all the plants, all the flowers are blooming, and the trees are turning green. Yeah, it's like that's Equitaine.
That's the Equitaine army.
That's the Equitaine army. Yes.
Yeah. It's a tough army for this army book to deal with. Committee to deal with.
It is
because you don't want to make them so good.
Well, that's the problem.
That the knights hit something and shatter it.
You don't want to be like in the days of like 6th and 7th edition or 5th edition Warhammer where you just charge things and crushed it.
Yeah.
Point and click is not what you want.
Some of that's gone anyway because now the step up rule or whatever that you never lose attacks coming back as long as you have the guys would eliminate some of that where it was, like you said, a point and click army in the past. Which actually I stopped playing the army during that time because it was not fun even to play.
Oh, absolutely.
I would have hated to play against it, but it just was.
Just go and kill things.
Just go kill stuff, and like I said, I stopped playing it because of that.
But in Ninth Age, I mean, Steadfast is there,
Correct.
and it is more of a grinding game.
Correct.
And so the units that you have to play in that field.
Right.
And they need cavalry. They don't even have to be all of the cavalry, but they need some cavalry that can play in that field, even if they don't win the fight. If it's nothing more than just holding you up forever, being an anvil.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, this army does not have an anvil.
Yeah, except for the infantry.
Well, the infantry aren't really that much of an anvil because their weapon skill is so low.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're slower, so You're waiting.
Yes.
You're waiting for your infantry to finally get up there and become your anvil. So now your hammers
Right.
can start maneuvering.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
it's kind of
And if you try to go with a maxo wedge, lance size, you don't actually have that many units
no, and you
because they start getting very expensive and they're hard to actually move
maneuver
because
they're huge.
Because they're huge in that swing out.
Yeah, the
from
tail
the back.
swinging around.
It does cause you challenges.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, I think with the limitations of the Ninth Age, that the Army Book Committee's done a pretty good job on this army.
Yeah, it's definitely heading in the right direction. I will give it that. It's heading in the right direction.
And I think they have added, you do have multiple ways to play, whether the ones you want to play or not. That's,
Yes.
that's personal taste,
Right.
but you do have those options now.
Right. Yeah, I think the only thing which we've talked about before, I think to me one of the biggest things this army doesn't have is, like you said, the anvil.
Mm-hmm.
That unit that can sit in there and grind for a couple turns
Right.
to let someone else come and help it.
Yeah, and we talked about the buff wagon before, and I'm kind of of two minds. On one hand, I think it's kind of a neat thing, but I think actually Ninth Age is risking of having too many buffs.
It is all over the place.
All over the place.
Correct.
And I kind of like how this army doesn't rely on buffs; it relies on its characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure I'd actually want to see. I mean, I can see how you would do one for the army; it'd be very easy to do.
Right.
But I'm not sure that's what I'd like to see. I think I'd just like to see the horses
be better.
be better, so I
Yeah,
can
and
I can just rely on my base guys to sit there for a while.
Yeah, and I think you're right. That a toughness 4 horse makes all the difference in the world.
Right, exactly.
And even if you wanted to get nuts and make one unit 2 wounds, one unit that you can be your grinding guys.
Yeah, and I don't think, and even that, I don't think it'd be too crazy.
No.
Because, how is that different than you see? There's a lot of monsters, infantry, monsters,
Yeah.
cavalry out there that's 3 wounds,
Yeah.
good armor saves, many more attacks, much higher strength.
This army is an army without monsters.
Correct.
I mean, unless you consider the hippogriff.
Yes.
It really has no monsters. It's limited war machines. So
Infantry or
infantry are
have the
subpar
challenges.
infantry, and their primary unit is one of the most handicapped units in the game currently,
correct.
in my opinion at least, and that's Cav. So yeah, I think that would be awesome. I would love to see this have toughness 4 horses across the board, and you could upgrade an army rule where you could upgrade one unit up to a max size, if you want to say, to a heavy war horse, which drops their movement and brings up their wounds.
I wouldn't want to limit it to one unit myself, but
Yeah.
I'd like to see it as an upgrade, but only for certain types of unit. I mean, like Knights of Aspirant shouldn't have that
No,
option.
you're correct.
Yeah,
That's true.
but if you're going to pay the points, I think it would be very interesting.
Yeah. All right. I definitely like this. I like what they've done. I think the Kingdom of Equitaine needs something else to become a really good competitive army, in my opinion. But I like the way they're
Now,
going. And
I will say that if you're doing team championships, this is a fantastic army.
correct. If you play in the team tournaments where you choose, you
Right.
have some choice, you have some control over your opponent.
Exactly.
Yes.
Then you can tailor build this, and it's a min-max army.
Correct.
It's like, I'm getting a Monster Mash. This is the army I want to.
Right.
Or an MSU. I can take this. That's great. The challenge is.
But in an all-comers list.
An all-comers list, and that tends to be what we see here
Correct.
in the States.
States
it's
is
all
individual tournaments.
Individual tournaments. It becomes much more of a challenge. But yeah, I think it's come along. Now they also said on the board that the rules team was supposed to take particular notice of this army.
Really?
Because it
Okay.
didn't have enough variety. So
Again, the variety, and the horses would add that variety.
they would actually.
I think I think that's overblown. I don't think this needs more variety. I really don't. I think throwing another Cav unit in there means nothing.
Oh, to me, I said, I mean, you see people talk about it doesn't have enough units in this army. I'm all of the same. I think it just needs to be a few more options for the
units
knight
that are
units
there.
that they have.
Correct.
Better horses, horse upgrade options, and maybe even give them some less expensive options for weapons choices if you want
Okay.
variety.
Correct.
Yeah,
just give the options to the units that are there rather than adding more options.
correct.
Adding more units.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree completely. This army does not need more units. But anyway, I'm going to give it a hopeful thumbs up because I want this army to be good, and this is a better version of this army that I've seen in a while.
Yes.
It's tough to give it a thumbs up though because I still don't know that it can compete in an all-comers list, but I still like this army, so I've got to give it a thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same thing as
It's more of a hopeful than a realistic.
Yes, I've always loved this army, and it is tactically challenging, and there's things you can do to make it competitive against a lot of things. You can go, you can go the old flying corps approach.
Correct.
And, but and the Grail Knights are nothing to
No,
sneeze
that's a
at.
tough unit.
Yeah, and but just because I love the army so much, I have to give it a thumbs up, a hopeful thumbs up.
A hopeful thumbs up.
Say, but as far as a tournament winner, I'd give it a thumbs down.
Yeah, got to be the same.
An all-comers tournament.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, thanks for listening. If you stuck through this whole thing.
Yep. And then that'll wrap up this review, and we'll move on to the next army book shortly.
All right. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.